Oh, hey, I was just standing here this morning thinking as I was refreshing my sourdough starter that so many people are really busy with when I grew up in Germany, I was watching my mom and my grandma in their kitchens, and they didn't have any of these gadgets. They just knew what to do. They were kneading their dough, they were refreshing their sourdough starter, and my grandmother didn't even have a digital scale. She had a very old school scale she used for canning and for other things, but for sourdough and bread baking, she would have never done that. And somehow her bread always came out amazing. I mean, sometimes it was a little bit more this, or sometimes it was a little bit more that, but on the whole, they were always really good breads. Those scales and proofing baskets and all these other gadgets. It just reminded me of how I thought sourdough was supposed to be really simple and uncomplicated. When I grew up in Germany, I was watching my mom and my grandma in their kitchens, and they didn't have any of these gadgets. They just knew what to do. They were kneading their dough, they were refreshing their sourdough starter, and my grandmother didn't even have a digital scale. She had a very old school scale she used for canning and for other things, but for sourdough and bread baking, she would have never done that. And somehow her bread always came out amazing. I mean, sometimes it was a little bit more this, or sometimes it was a little bit more that, but on the whole, they were always really good breads. She never measured anything. She never took the time or set a clock or anything, and she just knew what to do. So then I've been thinking, how did we get from something that people have been doing for centuries, millennia actually, to all these gadgets and exact measurements and making everything so complicated and lengthy instructions? And in this video, I wanted to talk about 3 things that I learned from my grandmother, who I affectionately called Omi. If you had a German grandmother, you might have called her Oma, or I called mine Omi. My grandmother's name was Edith. She grew up and lived most of her life in a really rural area in Lower Saxony. I remember that in the summers, especially when we were visiting, and as a child, I was watching her. She was always in the kitchen doing something. She was cooking, she was baking in the summer and in the fall. She was doing a lot of canning and preserving, and there was always something going on in her kitchen. She just knew what to do. She barely ever followed recipes. Well, for cakes probably she did, but for everything else, she just somehow knew in her head from experience. And back then, I didn't really ask all these questions, but now I wish I would have asked her the question, like, how do you know that the dough is right? How do you know what the sourdough starter is supposed to look like? I don't know, because I never asked her those questions when I was a little kid. But thinking back, I'd like to think that she would have just said, I can just look at it. I know what it's supposed to smell like. I know what it's supposed to look like. I know what it's supposed to feel like when you touch something, when you stir the sourdough. This is a pretty stiff sourdough starter, but also when you have a bread dough, what it's supposed to feel like. And so she just knew from experience. Once I started baking with sourdough on my own, living on my own, I finally understood what she was talking about. And it's an experience that can't be taught. That has just to be lived, that has to be gained, and it's nothing you can read in a recipe or learn in a video or read online. And also, while you're busy reading the recipe and trying to follow all the steps, there's something that is getting lost, and that is the feel for the dough. That is the conversation almost you're having with your bread dough and with your sourdough starter, and because it becomes so intellectual and so prescriptive that we lose this natural way of being. And a sourdough starter is a natural thing. It's a living thing. I can give you a recipe with all the steps and all the measurements and all the ingredients. And I mean, I write recipes for a living. I need to give you exact measurements because we need to start somewhere. But then I don't know the humidity in your kitchen. I don't know the humidity and moisture content of your flour. I don't know the acidity and all of these other things in your sourdough starter. And that's only something that you can determine in your own kitchen when you're actually working with your sourdough and working with your bread dough. So once you have that experience, you will actually get that confidence of just knowing. You just know when it looks right, when it feels right, when it smells right, when everything just seems to click into place, and you just automatically, intuitively do the right thing. And honestly, that's the kind of shift I would want for you. The other thing I learned from my grandmother is nothing ever gets wasted. I mean, my grandparents lived through 2 world wars, and there was a lot of poverty, there was a lot of lack, and they would have never thrown anything out that was still good to use. In fact, my grandfather used to save nails, used nails, and if they were a little bent or something, he would try to hammer them straight. But he had a little collection in a shed in the backyard where he had all sorts of building materials that he thought probably had another use in them, and he would have never thrown anything out. Discards? I don't think my grandmother would have ever thought to throw something out that's really good. But I mean, I get it with the conventional method that we're all being taught or following, with feeding your sourdough starter at a consistent rhythm and at consistent intervals. You just end up with a lot of sourdough starter, and then you have the pressure of doing something with your sourdough starter. And most people just don't have the time or the need to bake every single day. So what do we end up doing? We throw it out. But that is so wasteful. And I don't know about you, but every time I throw something out that's actually perfectly good, I don't feel good about it. I think that, well, we shouldn't throw something out. We shouldn't waste flour. We shouldn't do that. And I mean, there's whole books written about discards, and that's something that if my grandma was still alive and I would tell her that, she'd probably shake her head and like, what? She probably wouldn't be able to believe it. The method that she used that has been in my family for generations and that I'm still using is that we do something with our sourdough starter. We keep a little bit back. We either just put it in the refrigerator now that I'm using it a little bit more often for other things than simply bread. But my grandmother would just pack it with flour and put it in the refrigerator. And when she would need it the night before, she would take it out, add some water to it, and let it sit overnight. And then the next morning she'd have a perfect sourdough starter. And that was sort of the cycle that she would repeat, and nothing ever got thrown out. Once you do that, something shifts. You don't necessarily see your sourdough starter as a burden, as a commitment, as a pet that needs to be tended to and fed at regular times. But it's actually something that's really enjoyable, that works for you when you need it, that's there, that you have a relationship with. And that's the kind of thing that I would want for you. The third thing I learned from her was that her kitchen was barely ever empty. I mean, not in a nostalgic kind of romanticized way, but in a real, authentic way. Some neighbor might come over. When we were there, my mom was standing in the kitchen, either a cup of coffee in hand, or she would help her clean the green beans that they had just harvested from the backyard, or my aunt would be there and, I don't know, preparing fruit, de-stemming red currants they had just harvested. And we might have just been in there as kids milling around in the kitchen. One thing I do remember is that my mom and my grandma would often talk about their bread, and they would ooh and ah over, yours is so different, and what happened here, and oh, this is like, and oh, what did you do here? So there was a constant exchange. There was a conversation around the bread, the dough, the recipe, the ingredients, and I just remember that very vividly when I was a kid there. So knowledge was being passed from person to person, at the table, over coffee. I'm thinking about many of you. You might be there at 11 o'clock at night, your iPhone leaning against a bag of flour with your kitchen scale and trying to make it all happen. Then I get these emails. Oh, what happened to my sourdough starter? It did this, it did that, I saw mold on it, or it just doesn't look right, or it's not getting active. What do I do? And it's not you. I get it. You're doing all the work, you're following all the recipes, you do all the right steps, you have all the right ingredients, but that's not what's missing. What's missing is the people around you, the community, the exchange, the conversation my mom and my grandma were having. So we've traded computers and search bars for a real person we can talk to. And you might actually find somebody looking into the bowl of your dough and saying, no, it's fine, that's fine. Just give it a little bit more time, or just add a little bit more flour, or add a little bit more water, or set it in a warmer spot, any number of these things. And this is exactly why I started the Heritage Kitchen Table. I wanted it to be a place where people can come together, have a conversation over a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you're drinking, and having that conversation. Talking about your failed starters, talking about that bread that you thought was an absolute failure, talking about what worked and didn't work in your kitchen, and just learning from one another, because there is so much that we can get from one another, the encouragement, the actual help that is helping you in the moment, the learning, but you don't have to do it alone. You can do it in a community, you can do it with other people, you can share experiences, and just talking about it, hearing other people having gone through similar experiences or have made similar, I don't like to call them mistakes, I call them learning experience, but let's just call them mistakes for a moment. And learning from their mistakes and passing something on, that is something that we're really missing in today's world. So I wanted to build something that my grandmother had and that we had in our family, a community where we can just be completely off script. We can be raw, we can be real, and we can just be human beings. Not a YouTube video that's somewhat scripted and edited, not a recipe you're reading online, not a forum that may be monitored by somebody. So if you're watching this at the time this video is coming out, middle of May, I have just reopened my membership, the Heritage Kitchen Table. It's $14.95 a month. You can cancel anytime. There is an annual plan, and we get together live twice a month where you can ask me anything, but you can also, there is a community site, a hub where you can exchange experiences or ask questions with other members. So a real sense of community, something that you cannot find anywhere else, but that is my virtual kitchen table. And I invite you to join us. I would love for you to have a seat at this table here, of course, virtually. The link for the sign up is in the description box below, but if you're watching this video after the doors have closed, there is a wait list. So you can use that same link and just click on it and you'll be on the wait list. You'll be the first ones to hear when I reopen it, and it's intentional. I kind of want to keep it a little smaller, a little bit more intentional, and keep the cozy, warm feeling with it. And if this is not the right time for you, I get it. You know, that's fine. I'll still be making my YouTube videos. I'll still be posting recipes. I'll still show up in all the places, send out my newsletters. So there's nothing that I'm not doing anymore. There's not anything that you'll be missing. So you just continue baking and watching and reading, and it's all good. However, if this resonated with you, if you are looking for that sense of community, I would love to have you at my table. I would love to have you pull up a chair, have a cup of coffee, and join us. I'm going to go check back on my starter right now. You can check on yours, and I'll see you in the next video.